What's up? It's your man, Coach Block, one half of TDS Radio, and I am here with
your girl So Fab. Hey, y'all.
And this is TDS Tuesday. So you seen that we had some AI information and some education, and one of the things that we talked about was community. In community, we have leadership. You like that tie-in?
My God. He was sick with
it. Smooth. Not even smooth.
Hey.
Here we go. So, as one of the leaders in the community, we know that there's a position. That position is mayor. And we have a mayoral candidate here with us. Ms. Bell, how are you doing?
I am fabulous.
Oh.
Great. I like the I can't hear it in the headphones. I can only hear it, but it sounded like it came out good.
Oh,
in
yeah,
the
it
it did it?
It did.
Okay, that's great. So you got a voice for this.
I guess.
Okay.
Say I do. I mean, this is good.
You know how everybody
I'm
goes to that
excited.
nice little octave to make sure they just so smooth. On that
Before
mic.
you know it,
By the time we're done, like, let me tell y'all.
It's a microphone. I mean,
Yeah.
being on stage and having to introduce
Mhm.
numerous performances,
Mhm.
yes.
it's a mic.
And you have an extensive history of being a performer.
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah.
Which I love. And the funny thing, when I first seen you at the Kids Vote Durham event, I was like, she dresses like a dancer.
Yeah.
I wonder if she is one.
Because Kim is an art school kid. She went to art school
Because
as
you
well.
can tell they have certain aesthetic, the way they walk, and how they present themselves, and even how they sit. I was like, she looks like a dancer. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All that black I wear.
Hello.
And my red lip.
Hello.
That's a stage.
Yes,
thing.
ma'am.
That's
Yes,
a stage
ma'am.
thing, yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's
As soon as
what's
I
up.
read that, I was like, clock it. Yes.
So we met Ms. Bell at the Kids Voting Durham. We got a chance to actually be at Hillside High School, where kids took the chance to ask all of the people who are running questions.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a roundtable event. We just jumped in and said that we would help out and film. And then I just got close to Ms. Bell and said, hey, can we talk to you a little bit? Because we're in Durham. We are entrepreneurs in Durham. I work in Durham. And so we just wanted to find out more about Durham. And you have history in Durham.
Yes.
So if you could just start with talking about what Durham means to you before we even get into just the political side, what does Durham mean to you?
Love.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things where in this process of running a campaign and even on my website, it reads that love.
Mm-hmm.
And someone had commented, they were like, I think you should remove that, because if you go and it's like going for a job interview and they ask, why might you be doing this? And it's love. No, that's not enough. But the reason it's love for me is because I've been in Durham for pretty much, for the majority of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And Durham wasn't always convenient in the ways that I felt either I was embraced or rejected. But I found my way back. I chose to come back and to continue to pour in to this city that didn't always love me back.
Right.
But that's the unconditional parts of my beautiful, loving relationship with Durham.
Yes.
And within love, there's just so much in it, because there is this sense of community, knowing, seeing, stick-to-itiveness. And that's, I think, why for me that one word represents so much, because it's an amazing gift when it's bestowed upon another.
Yes.
So my word is love, and it's authentically Anjanee.
Yeah.
And so it just seems like that's my path. People say, oh, I don't think that's the right way, Anjanee. But some things you just have to stand on.
Yeah.
And I think love is the greatest thing.
Yeah. It's inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's one of the things we joke and tell some of the athletes. So being an athlete has to be in you, not on you, not just wearing the jersey and wearing the helmet. And it sounds like the position itself, that's cool. But I love Durham. I love home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing about home, because I was in a freshman seminar class yesterday at Central, and the professor, she was talking about homecoming to these freshmen, and she made a interesting statement. She said, well, homecoming isn't for you, it's for the alumni. But interesting. Yeah, I know. I thought it was interesting too. But
that's why I'm chuckling. Like,
but
sheesh.
even, right. But I mean, because she's a diehard. But at the same time, when I think about what homecoming is for me, it is that, because I chose to come back to Durham after I felt a little, rejected by Durham. And home it's a centering, it's an anchoring. And sometimes to do that, you have to leave.
Yeah.
And you have to discover a lot of different things about yourself to know where home really is. And, I lived in Mexico. I've lived in Spain. I have family in New Orleans, and I've been other places. And then when I was mad with Durham, I moved to Cary just a little bit, just a little bit.
Yeah.
I didn't go deep in. I didn't go deep in. But it was just enough to just give myself some breathing room. But no matter how many where I've been, there's still something about Durham.
Yeah.
And that's what I was even sharing with the students yesterday. For me, because there's a piece that I created, and it's about home. And that's in every space, whether it's me thinking about how I move, me returning to center is a returning to a home place, right? And that's what this should always be for anyone who chooses Durham. It's home, it's a centering, it's a groundedness, and it's love.
I'm thinking, just because I'm sorry, because you'll notice that she's a little bit more serious than me. Everything that's going on in my head, when I think of home, I think of a place where
that's right, Stephanie.
Love's overflowing.
And I feel like I need to dance a little bit.
Hey, let's get it.
The way it was just being articulated, and she was just dancing on the microphone. I'm like,
I have to know, what was your style? Contemporary. I knew it. Clock it. Hey, now.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Before we get in, like you said, the political side, what I want to know, you talk about your influence of your parents. Your mother taught you love. She ran the household, smart educator, things like that. And then you talk about your father as well, who is embedded in the Durham community. Spent 16 years as mayor. How do you make sure that you don't get lost in their story and that you're creating your own?
That's a good question. I told you she worked for iHeart, and that's you just trumped my damn little. Well, what you start with them now?
So and honestly, I appreciate that question, because it goes to my creative practice, and I think about, as I'm running in this race, for me, I'm a purist in many ways. And so what that means is that when I'm in a process, there are things in which I will close out to make sure that whether it's movement, whether it's writing, whether it's the type of campaign, there are things that I know for my being aware of myself that I must do to make sure that whatever I put out into the universe to produce, that it is coming from Anjanee. So what that means is that I'm not looking to someone else's campaign. I'm not looking at another artist. Whatever, if I'm creating a movement work, I'm not looking to anyone else, because what's really important to me is to make sure anything that I'm putting forth, it comes from me, right? That I'm not. I'm gonna be kind. I'm not borrowing. People like to borrow without permission. And it's just one of those things. And,
Yes,
but the one thing I say is that, yes, I can't, there are some things that they're part of me and part of my fabric, right? My mother, she's an economist. And so, she is the last of 16 children. So there are just things that inherently they're a part of the way in which I've been brought up in this world, right? And my father, I see him all around, right? So it's not one of those things where I can completely detach myself,
Mhm.
Right.
but who Anjanee is, I know how to protect my voice.
Mhm.
I know how to stand on my own 2 feet because that's also the house that I grew up in.
Mhm.
You know, even in terms of this campaign, people make many assumptions, and I am 48 years old. Yes, I am. And it feels like I'm a teenager. I've gone back to my teenage years.
Mhm.
And why that's important to understand is because I grew up with people making assumptions about what we had,
Yep.
Mhm.
what we
Mhm.
didn't have to do,
Mhm.
you know, the access that we had,
Mhm.
you know, or that just things were just easy
Mhm.
because of, and that's so far from the truth.
Mhm.
And now fast forward, I'm in this campaign and it feels very familiar.
Mhm.
You know, people, instead of, you know, asking the things that they want to know,
Mhm.
they make a lot of assumptions and things that are not true.
Mhm.
Right.
Right. And I'm just someone that the directness comes from my home, but also my directness comes from being a performing artist and
Mhm.
being in theater. And so where time is money.
Mhm.
And so I appreciate when people, if you have anything about my lived experience and my story, you ask. You know, you don't have to assume.
Mhm.
And there's an expression in, is my mother's from Louisiana, from New Orleans, and she will always have this expression, you know, we can all get naked, you know, and it's an expression just because you put everything out,
Mhm.
you know, and people aren't comfortable putting everything
Not
out,
at all.
they ain't.
right? And so what I say, even in this process of running for office, because you'll get people and they will say, you know, I could never run because, you know, I have too many things that, you know, I don't want the world to know. Well, freedom is important to me in that regard, because that's just the way in which how I moved as an artist and a working performing artist,
Mhm.
is that anything that I would move through that was challenging in any regard, I moved through it with what I was producing.
Mhm.
And so it always kept me like, things come in and they're
Mhm.
out. And so I'm always able to regenerate,
Mhm.
which also is a bit challenging too. But competitively, it keeps me constantly ahead,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yep.
I'm not stuck.
Mhm.
I'm in a constant state of learning and progressing and evolving.
Yep.
And there, you know, and I've made mistakes along the way,
We all have.
you know,
Mhm.
but it's one of those things, like in this space, in this present space, I'm excited all the time.
Mhm.
You know, yes, can I be tired? Yes, perhaps, but I only know it when I stop.
Mhm.
But the biggest thing about all of this, it's maintaining who I am through the
Yes.
process, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it can be very easy
Mm.
to like dance in certain spaces,
Yes.
especially when you're competitive
Mhm.
and people compromise themselves, right?
Mhm.
And that's really important for me to move in ways that I can always be proud,
Mhm.
and but I'm human,
Mhm.
Yes.
right? And so I understand that dance, and I have people that can remind me of that when I might be on the verge of falling into spaces that are
Mhm.
not good for
Mhm.
where I am in my journey. And I'm very much anchored by faith,
Mhm.
you know, and so that guides me in a lot. But yeah, keeping like people, that's the other assumption, that somehow like my father is moving this forward. And that is not the case. That's just,
Right.
I didn't grow up that way. Like, I'm really scrappy. I fight for everything I do.
Mhm.
Right. And that's because, you know, I grew up in a house where my father kept really clear lines.
Mhm.
You know, he didn't blur his serving Durham, as in that kind of made its way into our home,
Mhm.
which also, when you're growing up in it, you don't understand.
Right.
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 Because, you know, as a young person,
Mhm.
you think, you know, why can't you do that for everyone else?
Mhm.
Why can't you do it, you know, in your
Mhm.
house?
Yeah.
And those are some of the challenging things, I think, when you grow up in a home where you have both parents who are influential in their
Mhm.
own right.
Yeah.
It's making sure that somewhere in there you are grounded in ways that you still maintain who you are.
Absolutely.
But arts was the saving grace for me because oftentimes it felt really lonely.
Yeah.
And I'll say it's like that again. You know, it feels very lonely because, you know, you're having to navigate intentions. And I mean, I grew up like having to do that. Understand, like, why are you talking to Anjanee for Anjanee, like, because it's me?
Yes.
Or because of my
are you
people.
or
Yeah.
yes, right?
Mhm.
And so that's the part that people they don't think that you're real, a real
Right.
person,
Absolutely.
you know. And I've grown up away.
Yeah.
My skin is very it's very thick, and you know, while I feel things, just some things I'm just like, yeah, I've seen that before.
Yeah.
And so I'm a bit more measured about things.
So for the little Anjanee that's out there, or the little Andrew, who you're speaking so passionately about just being a dancer and the arts. And one of the things that we heard the students talk about or mention was just like having more things to do. What would your run look like for the youth in just making sure that there's established arts and, you know, things that the other things that students can do besides just sports? Because, you know, they want to do things, and I to me as a coach, I think some sports are phasing themselves out. It's just not as popular as. But then now kids are just like, so now what? So what does that look like to the little Anjanee or little Andrew and them back,
Right.
you know, and waiting to see what you're gonna do?
Right. So the things that I imagine is being able to create those spaces where you can be curious and, you know, try different things. And it's almost like it's like a home. It's a centering as well, because in my home, my mother was so good about embracing my creativity, right? My dreamer status. I mean, I'm a dreamer, right? And I always say, and I'm not just a dreamer, but I do realize dreams too. But, you know, when they could come home and I would have a hotel, I'd have, clearly I was dancing. I had a movie theater because I made with shoeboxes. I would make screens and, you know, and I wrote and I made stories. I deconstructed clothing. I did woodworking. You know, I just explored anything that was moving through my mind. Right. And we need those type of spaces. Like when I embrace all the technology, I do. But my true concern is that it is handicapping our young people from really kind of figuring some things out for themselves creatively, right? And that I'm really quite impressed with AI. It's also it can be a little scary too, because when something can think for you and speak like you and maybe even do it better, then you might lean in it to so much where there's a potential for you to lose yourself in it. And I think those things have to be, we have to work that out, you know, in terms of finding the balance, because I think it's a really spectacular tool. But like when I think of these spaces with young people, it's like the gaming, you know. My son, before I gifted him with a PlayStation for his 9th birthday, because I was so resistant, because he built puzzles, he liked Legos, he did all of these things, you know. And now he's not doing that as much. And some aspects of it are slowing him down. And these are just my observations. And being able to find balance in creating space for young people to just be curious and imagine. And some of that also is seeing other parts of the world. You know, I'm very fortunate to have lived in a home where we did have the ability to see different parts of the world. And then when I got older and I got my passport, it was a part of what I knew I had to do to speak in the ways that I feel are extremely important. Like because I think about things from a global perspective. And so if you're one who thinks about things from a global perspective, but you haven't left your block, it's very difficult, right? And so also that's important too. The things that I talk about, the things that I say, and not to say I'm perfect because I'm human, but at least I make a concerted effort to live out what either I'm asking someone to do or I'm expressing myself. So I'm a global thinker. That made sense for me as a young person. Like, okay, well, at some point I need to leave.
Yeah.
And so I, when I could, I did. And that's something I would really love to do for children in Durham is give them a passport.
Yeah.
Because even if you don't leave the block, it's the fact that you have this book that it feels like freedom. Even if you might only take one trip, but it's the bottom line is you have something that will let you, hopefully we still can, but go to other places, right?
Yes.
Because it informs you in such rich ways when you come back home.
Yeah.
And so when I think about the work that I would like to do with people in Durham, I'm informed by my time in Madrid. I'm informed by my time in Cuernavaca, Mexico, or Mexico City. I'm informed by these places and spaces and people that I think will make for a rich, truly curated and cultivated Durham that people no longer talk in disparaging ways about.
Right.
That the leadership that I know that I possess and I want to give to this city, I have been giving it, but in this capacity, it's one where when they talk about like vision zero for, bike, accidents and all of this, it should be a vision zero for speaking disparagingly about this city.
Right.
That we should get to a point where there's such a sense of pride and a shared vision that you become protective. Like, don't talk about my city like that.
Right.
You must not be from here.
Yeah. You don't talk about it like that. And it's not perfect. Yes, it has its spots, right? But the beauty is there. Like I think about my 3 children, I'm not gonna be talking to the world, in ways that don't bring glory to them. Right. Now I might be hard inside the house, right? But it's important because we're more than like this moment. It's not a period. And it's really important, especially for newcomers like college students who are in Durham, for there to be the type of leadership that loves Durham so deeply that they appreciate the complexities of some of the things that, one might not think, is just traditionally beautiful. But that's what I think Durham is.
Yeah. I got to be honest, being here, I was telling my sister, we were both from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and sidebar, you speaking about kids leaving, I agree 1,000%. My daughter is in a program called Pittsburgh to Paris. Ooh. And so she got her passport in the spring of this year, and this summer went to Paris. The first thing she told me when she came back home is, Dad, I want to study abroad. And she's 15.
Yeah.
But it was just the opportunity to be able to see something different that in her mind, I want to study over there, which if she didn't have that program.
And it forces you to be uncomfortable.
Yeah. And like she talked about just being uncomfortable traveling, but then once she got there, she was good. Yeah. So, that's definitely a piece. But what I noticed here at Durham, with us being outsiders coming in, that like, it feels like home. Like when we came here, people connected. We're sitting down with you. Yeah. We sat down with Miss Freeman. Like people are like, yo, what's up? What you want to do? This is how you do it. But then we also see that there's like a gap of then now there's, I don't know what Durham it is, but then there's a gap of Durham here that's just like out of touch with what the people really need and what they really are asking for. How do you look to bridge that gap? And do you see it? Are we off base by what we see as outsiders? Because there's a nest of like the jamboree that we just had in August with bringing all the football teams together and everything. What we heard from outsiders was, you going to Durham? I don't think that's a bad idea. But then once we started making the connections, working with Lieutenant Harris from the Deputy Sheriff's Department, everything like that, everybody was so cool, helpful. How can we get it done? It's for the community. Let's do it. No issues, no problems whatsoever. But then the people that were in that space that's not the people that you deal with every day was like, I don't know if you should do it. How do we bridge that gap to where we can go ahead?
I was going to say, what is the plan to bridge that gap?
Yeah.
You know, a good friend of mine, it was right, the primary election day, and I had invited them to come and just be in the space to watch. And they declined and respectfully declined because, there are people that are around me that, they're not friends with. And, that's, and he was just respectful in that manner. Right. But in the flip of that, he said, you have the ability to juggle so many diverse voices, which is why you're going to be a great mayor. And I think that is because of the openness that I maintain to be able to embrace so much energy. And it wasn't, he said it was energy, my ability to juggle different energies. And because everything is about energy, right? And it's not always comfortable energy. But when those things happen, it always becomes a question for myself of, why am I uncomfortable right now? Right. And I think when you talk about bridging, it's because there are many people who are in leadership positions who don't feel comfortable in being uncomfortable. And, sometimes that uneasy space is, why are you in my face? Why are you in my space? And you have to be able to receive that, and you have to listen in between. And see, that's something I think as an artist and when you work with a lot of music, is that so many times I think that when people are listening, they listen at a very surface level. Right? What's the most profound thing that you're hearing, instead of everything that can exist in between spaces. I live in the in between spaces.
Yeah, you hear that bass that's driving the beat. And the other person's like, "What are you listening to?" But that bass is driving the whole song.
Yes, and then everything that is attached to it, right? And so when you talk about how do we do that, it's being able to live in those in between spaces and find the connective tissues. And then you bring it together. But to do that, you have to be one who remains open, because energy exists everywhere, right? And that is it's a skill and it's a craft, right? And so I think that it involves a great amount of self-awareness and the ability to listen. And then you take all of that and you form, actions like, all right, so now what's next?
Yeah.
Right?
And the one thing that I definitely want to get your opinion on, or even just hear what the plan may be for you. People are undoubtedly angry, just with everything currently, how the country's being ran, where we are, and a lot of that is at some of our fault. Not everyone, but with things like, the No Kings Day and, people protesting and, everyone trying to decide like which side of history do they want to be on. We do have leaders that look like us that are speaking up, that are very vocal. And then you have others who kind of hide behind, they're technically on the right side, but they don't want to be singled out, by everyone else. How do you ensure that, you stay on what you believe to be the right side, and then also ensure that the people feel heard and validated in a state when they just feel so angry and frustrated?
I mean, it still comes back to, really being one, it's being whole person and self-aware, right? And I attended the No King, and I thought it was an amazing sight of people coming forward, and there was a great amount of energy. There was some criticism because it wasn't a diverse crowd, meaning there, as many Black and brown bodies out. And so my thought is that, especially when we had a primary that had such low participation, and when for just as long as the incumbent has been in his seat, I've been in the process, because this process started for me the day after elections in 2023. So we've been at it, the same amount of time in that particular that space, him as mayor. When the effort that it is to drive to downtown, find parking, perhaps pay for parking, to walk to where the site is, to stand in the hot sun, to listen, to chant, to then figure your way out to the streets, to walk all of the streets, still chanting, all that effort, you could take it to the ballot box and it wouldn't even be a quarter time. And that's where the confusion is. And what is the intention and the purpose? Because that is great. People use their energy and they came out and they were just in it. But then what do you do with that?
Boom.
Then it's just like, then it feels like at some point, if we don't do anything with it, then is it a bit mild complaining?
Yeah.
And so I'm all about it. But the next thing is that you have to take that, you have to take all that energy and you have to take it and put it the step to a polling site. And the time it takes for you to circle some names to cast your vote. That's just where the connection, for me, is because people can say, "Oh, I'm so unhappy," and I'm finished, and things have to change. But when you're not actively participating,
yes,
I just don't understand.
Yeah.
Right. Or the process of, which is also part of the challenge in this. I guess in any election where people are just not as informed, right? The fact of all the signs, I know I put out a lot of signs.
Yes, ma'am.
And that people don't know that there is an election happening.
Which is crazy.
And that's just, and the reason why, and I would give it to those who are new, but Durham, we vote every year on something.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yes, ma'am. It's not a surprise.
And you know why that's upsetting? Is because you can remember the state fair every year.
At the same time.
You can remember homecoming.
When Dreamville was here, you can remember that. Right? I mean, you can remember.
Let's go ahead and do it then.
You can. But the bottom line is we can remember these things that may not give back to us in the ways of our daily living. Right? Yes, it's fun. We want to do that. But there are other things that we have to make sure that we protect, especially when they're under attack. Our voices are under attack.
Absolutely.
Right? And so when you understand that, you must align. Right? And those are my only challenges. Like, I'm all about, and I don't know. I mean, some question if it really is a protest, because protesting involves truly being uncomfortable. And we were pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, for all that it is, we were comfortable. And so I think it's important for us to ensure that our active participation aligns in a way that yields outcomes that are in the best and better for Durham,
Mhm.
right? It was amazing that a lot of people I met, they weren't from Durham. So that's even more so. Like you
Mhm.
drove from someplace
Right.
and you were here.
Right.
But the other part is that people clearly appreciate a collective,
Yeah.
because when you might not be the most vocal person, you can still be in the choir,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
You know, and so it can carry you, which that's a beautiful thing too, until you
Right.
get to where you get your wings and you feel, you know, you're
Yeah.
inspired and do a thing. So all of that is to say, all of these gestures that we make are great, but when it comes down to it, it's such simple things that
Mhm.
can make the biggest difference.
Mhm.
And those are the things that right now there are people who are trying to take those things away, especially
Yes.
for us as women.
Yes. Yes.
And I was like, all the things that you're trying to require, especially if you've had divorces or,
Mhm.
as women, to, about your last name, and if you have a name change, that's essentially going to be, well, I'm sorry, my guy,
Yeah.
we're gonna get married, but because of the way things are moving,
Yeah,
I don't think I
can't do that.
I can't change my name.
Yeah, I can't
Yeah.
do that.
Because it's gonna be a problem,
Mhm.
and I think those are just these small ways. If you're not paying attention, that's how things happen to us.
Mhm.
And I'll tell you, when I was driving Uber and Lyft, and it was, so I did that to really truly know the pulse of Durham and the surrounding spaces. So, knowing that eventually I was like, wait, where am I?
Mhm.
Because everything developmentally looked the same,
Mhm.
right? Which that disturbed me
Mhm.
gravely. But I remember going out the next day, and my mother was just so concerned because of the climate. And, and I was just like, no, I'm covered. I'm
Yeah.
good. And I remember this gentleman got in my vehicle, and he was talking to someone. I knew he was talking to a woman, and he was a Black man,
Mhm.
and he essentially gave up his vote,
Mm.
right? And he was a contributor to what we have,
Mhm.
and that was disturbing because he also was talking to a woman, and his reasoning and his criticism of Kamala,
Mhm.
right? Which goes just to think about being a Black woman, and somehow people can't see us to lead,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
I mean, it was it was what was told to me when I started this journey
Mhm.
to becoming mayor.
Mhm.
Oh, Anjanee, you're not going to win, against, up against a Black man, a man and then a Black man. Why not?
Mhm.
And those things, it's concerning, one, because we as women, we give life,
Mhm.
right? And also, just as Black women, the things that we must shoulder to allow life to continue to go forward,
Mhm.
right? And the things that we have to endure and still stay shiny
Mhm.
and pretty and well composed, the expectations of the Black woman,
Mhm.
right? And so those are those things too, you have to overcome,
Mhm.
right? The expectation somehow that I should already know everything
Mhm.
when I'm in these spaces, but it doesn't happen with my male counterparts. They don't have to seemingly know everything. They can just be,
Mhm.
right? And so these are the necessary conversations, but also what is equally as harmful is we as women can't see we as women
There we go.
as leaders,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There we go.
And especially Black women,
Mhm.
not seeing Black women.
Mhm.
And that is just like, man, the harm, it continues. And so if I had to talk to younger little girls, don't ever let anybody tell you what you can't do.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
And don't ever let anybody put you in a box.
Mhm.
Smash those boxes.
Mhm.
I am that little girl that's who I am.
Mhm.
I know boxes make people feel comfortable,
Mhm.
but I'm good being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
My life wouldn't be what it is if it were,
Mhm.
right? My therapist which I embrace therapy.
Yes.
Yes,
I really
ma'am.
do.
We
Yes,
do
ma'am.
too.
And, you know, and I spoke to, you know, the young, you know, the children about that because I think it's necessary to
Mhm.
have, especially like my outlet, my therapy was dancing.
Mm-hmm.
But after I stopped making work on a consistent basis,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I became aware of just other things,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think it's so important to complete circles,
Mhm.
you know. And so I'm just in it. I want little girls and boys too,
Mhm.
you know.
I got a question with this
Yeah,
because there's another brother in the room, right?
yeah.
And it also will pivot to you as well. From y'all voice, what do you need from us? And I'm not saying it because I specifically don't understand, or even that brother Keenan doesn't understand.
Mhm.
But if you have a room full of brothers, what you will hear the rumble be is, well, what do you want? What are we supposed to do? And sometimes it's not as direct because people don't get the context clues or don't even have the emotional intelligence to understand where you're saying this is the space that we need and this is
Mhm.
how we need to connect. Even in this race, what do you need from us as brothers that we can do right now to assist with seeing you in a position of leadership and being comfortable with that?
For me,
Mhm.
I think it's important for men, especially Black men, to be comfortable with themselves, that they can see themselves occupying the same space,
Mhm.
that they're comfortable allowing a woman to do what a woman does. I think a woman does very well,
Mhm.
to lead,
Mhm.
right? And to be secure in themselves, to understand how to the strength in being able to fall back and just let a woman shine,
Mhm.
and knowing how to let her shine,
Mhm.
right? I think that goes into knowing how to provide safety
Mhm.
to a woman in leadership, and that we both can exist in the same space. We can
Mhm.
occupy the same space and support each other in a way that is balanced,
Mhm.
right? That there is the give and the take.
Mhm.
There's strength in men and women,
Mhm.
right? And I think what I find difficult in navigating the time and place of my voice,
Mhm.
because I have a very strong voice,
Mhm.
but in the space of with men who may not be as secure in themselves, sometimes I have to make sure that my voice isn't so strong to
Mhm.
where you feel less than,
Mhm.
right? And so it's always this very careful balance, at least for me,
Mhm.
right? In that space. But you know, when you ask, you know, what is needed,
Mhm.
it's the honoring that we as women, we as Black women, that we are strength.
Mhm.
You know, we are calm, but sometimes we must be ferocious because it's what's required,
Mhm.
right? Not only to fight for ourselves, but to fight for you too.
Mhm.
You know, and you know, I have 3 children. My son is my youngest.
Mhm.
And I think it's harder to raise a boy
Mhm.
than a girl,
Mhm.
because in that little Black boy is to navigate his vulnerability
Mhm.
and not wanting to take that from him,
Mhm.
because it's so beautiful
Mhm.
when a man can be vulnerable, but at the same time nurturing that ferociousness that exists in him,
Mhm.
and you know, helping him to navigate that, because like my son can go to 0 to 60 in milliseconds,
Mhm.
and he doesn't differentiate boys and girls,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And so now we're in the space of saying, hey, you know, Ari, that could get you in trouble,
Mhm.
man.
Mhm.
And I understand.
Mhm.
And then I have to tell my daughter, who kind of instigates,
Mhm.
and helping her to understand, look, you have to be responsible in this way because that can put you got to protect your brother in that way because he can take that somewhere else and that won't be received the same way, right? And so that is the nature of the relationship, at least what I believe it to be. It's to see our male counterparts and understand the ways in which we must support one another, right? And understand that, as one of my friends said, everything requires a motherboard,
right?
And women, we also have to lift each other up. I mean, that's a part of the issue, right? But in this space of women not thinking that we can lead, or men, especially Black men, that think that we don't have the capacity to lead, but yet you come from a mama, and just those things can be very difficult.
And I asked that because I know it's important when, like, even our pastor of our church is a woman, and you hear people say at times like, well, when are we gonna get a man? Because she says things like, I believe in the hierarchy of the church, and eventually there will be a man in this seat, but right now I'm here. So you have those who are 1,000% rider for her. I'm one of them. And then you have those people that every now and again get the mummers. And I don't like that, because it's like, we're not necessarily looking at the leadership that this woman is putting forth and how the church is actually moving and growing. We're focusing on just a gender role. And it is ridiculous. You know what I mean? And I thought one of the dopest things was, as she has evolved, and now she's married, and now she's starting to assign different things. You see her moving differently, and she's in she's called it her soft state, right? But then there's that switch when she's a teacher. Nah, I'm teaching, and see me as a teacher. Don't see me as a woman teacher. See me as a teacher and get this information. And I think in this position, like, we have to see you as the mayor.
As the mayor.
You're the mayor.
Yes.
And then after that comes but your job is to be the mayor, not a woman mayor.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think that's really important, because even when I think of with my children, or I'll go back to being an artist, performing artist, and the hierarchy there for me, because I just think of, I'm an artist. I don't think of the color of my skin or just being a woman in those spaces. Like, there are certain things that come before I get to those labels. Right. And the same exists in this space as well. Clearly there are going to be some things that exist within me, because just naturally, I think that there's just different energy, feminine, masculine energy. I just think there's a difference there, and there's a time and place for everything, right? And that's why I think being able to have the balance in those spaces is so necessary. Like, I think at this time, like, it's important. The time that my father led in, his leadership, it was imperative in that moment. What the city called for, it required his leadership. Like, when people talk about Durham, yes, there are some things that are they come out of what was put forth in his leadership. I mean, it's no different than technology. There are things that, yes, is great, but then there are things that they're spinning out as a result. Right. And is that the fault of the technology, or is it we as people and what we now do, and all of the ways in which we start to move?
Correct.
And so when there's a question of Anjanee, and she's gonna be like her dad, there might be there's commonality, and that is people. Like, my dad, he was like what we call boots on the ground. He's a real person. He's out with the people. That is something that we're very aligned on. But we disagree. I mean, that's just the reality.
Because you're two individuals.
Yes, and there are things that are going to make. I mean, he's male, I'm female. No different than like the incumbent. There are things that are just what they are, and our differences. But people have got to give people space to see those things, and not just automatically assume and make informed attachments. And that's the part that it becomes very difficult in this space,
Mm-hmm.
because then it's not necessarily just about my father.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes, what are you really thinking about me?
Right.
Because especially if I'm showing up in different spaces with different people,
Mhm.
with different conversations, are you really interested?
Mm-hmm.
And that's important.
Yeah,
Well,
it is.
And I want to ask you this too, because we know in order for people to take action, they have to feel something.
mhm.
There has to be some sort of emotional tie. People take action when they're angry, when they're inspired, when they're motivated, for any aspect of their life. And that even includes voting.
Mhm.
So what emotion or what is it that you want your people to feel, to know that when I go to these polls, this is the person that I'm voting for?
Hope. I mean, that's something. The morale is
Mhm.
low,
Yeah,
Very low.
right?
yeah.
Very low.
It's a bit sickly,
Mhm.
and this is a spin out of our city not being completely well and whole,
Mm-hmm.
right? The fact that you are checking out because you think that whoever is going to be present to hopefully run is not going to do anything for you.
Mhm.
That's unfortunate,
Right,
right?
right.
And I have to tell people, you've got to feel so enraged or moved, in a sense that that your voice, if you have nothing else, that is your currency,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that there has to be a return to that. But I think by design, that's not being supported in the areas where it should.
Yeah.
Media, our news circuits,
Mhm.
when you're not promoting something that's extremely important in
Mhm.
process,
Mhm.
you have a part that you're playing.
Mhm.
The fact I was asked to be interviewed, and it was 2 days after early voting, and but the media, they were out there to capture voters voting.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Did you catch what I said?
Mhm.
The last day was a Saturday. I was being interviewed on a Monday.
Right. So these people didn't get a chance to hear the voice that you're giving now prior to them voting.
No, it wasn't that. If the news was out there, their job was to be there
Mhm.
to record, to capture the voices of people voting,
Mhm.
but voting ended 2 days before.
Yeah.
If the news, if they weren't informed,
Yeah. They're
if they
behind.
didn't know, if they were behind,
Mhm.
what is happening in every place else?
Yeah.
And that to me was just like, oh my gosh, like you're out here, and we concluded voting 2 days prior,
And now here you are. Ugh.
and so I think this modern day, the modern day politics that I think people are checking out of,
Mhm.
that is, I do think that is a part of the design, because if we can get enough people to check out, and
Mhm.
those voices that they're going to always show up,
Mhm.
then they have the ability to control the narratives.
Mhm.
And people need to understand that they have more power
Mhm.
in them showing up and giving the effort of circling,
Mhm.
bubbling
Mhm. Mhm.
a name.
If you could, like, and I'm a Marvel movie buff. Like, I love the Avengers, right?
Mhm.
So if you could build your Avengers just with the quality of people you need on your team to start making those changes, what would that look like? Like, what are the characters that I need somebody that can get into the streets and do this and have this level of compassion? Like, what does your Avengers team look like?
So I definitely think it's someone that is in the streets,
Mhm.
right? That they move in stealth, like,
Mhm.
ways. I think it's going to take a person that also can move in another space that requires elegance and just a seamless way of moving through space, right? Because this Avenger is gritty, you know, rough, but it's necessary. It's right to it. This other person is easy on the ears, right? And sight. The other person is like a think tank. It's the brain of the operations, right? Which that goes into someone who's like truly like deep into policy and the nuts and bolts.
Yeah.
Someone who can build. You know, that's necessary, a builder in this part. The person that has the ability to break tension at any given moment, that person is necessary.
Yeah.
That they have this incredible ability to just open it up and it just moves out, right? That's a really good question because it does, you know, when you're thinking about leading, you're thinking about all the people that you need to have around you to do a thing.
Yeah.
You know, because in this, because I enjoy working collaboratively and bringing a lot of energy forward, that's a great question of the Avengers, you know, the people that are around to help move things forward. Because like I see myself as the visionary, the person who has the ability to see people, right? And that's important because when you're able to see people, you know how, you know how to protect them. You can anticipate their needs, right? And so that's a great superpower. And then you need the scrappy Avenger. I mean, you do need a scrappy Avenger. You need somebody that can really fight in meaningful ways to protect the people, you know, which actually all of us should have that quality, a bit of that quality, because that's what this is about, right? At least it should be about that.
Do you have to be in a seat to be one of those Avengers for you though? So say I'm not in politics anyway, but I'm in these streets. Like, how do I get with you to get to work?
Oh yeah, no. So for me, no, you don't. And actually, I think for me, it's necessary to not be, because if you have been tuned into like the last council meeting, i.e. last night, and others, there's a lot of performative politics, right?
Yes.
And so you're not getting the most authentic experience. You're getting people who are making choices because it serves them, it serves the agenda to agree or disagree. Right. And so I always imagined that I needed like the Avengers, like they're out there, you know, and I think this time that I've spent, it is finding my people. And I think that is what my leadership in Durham will look like, is that no different than when I met you all. And there's something I connected to, and I was like, it wasn't oh, maybe no, it was Jess. Right. And here we are. Right. And I think that is going to the way that works is because there's something clearly, it's like I'm calling, my energy is calling out. And it's drawing people in to do the work. I want to continue to do that and be able to support those people doing the work. Like I always say, you know, in my heart, I'm a philanthropist. I mean, I really am. You know, just my Achilles heel, sometimes it is the ability, like it's I'm changing that narrative of money, right? But the bottom line is there are just things I don't ever like to be stopped by, and this money is one of them, because so many people defer their dreams because they say, well, I just can't afford to do it, and so they don't take a shot. And that's difficult. And I think that's also the climate that we're living in right now in Durham, where people just can't afford things, to just basics. And so I can't even think about the basics. Why do you want me to dream? Why do you want me to think about, the possibilities? I'm just trying to,
I got to get to tomorrow.
I got to get to tomorrow. And I'm that person that my hope is my presence in leadership helps to be that person that helps them go beyond, I just got to think about tomorrow, to you have someone present that wants to enable you to learn to embrace dreaming again, right? To think about your purpose, and to lean into that. So that's the other part. It was when you asked me about a man, and I think there is so important for a man to have purpose. A man with no purpose,
it's pretty bad. I ain't gonna lie to you.
It is, and that's difficult, and
bad.
As a woman, I think that's a big draw. As a man who has some purpose, it's not necessarily. Yes, you want someone aesthetically pleasing, yes, but purpose is so much bigger than that.
Girls,
right? It is. Yes.
She said you can be ugly, just have some dream. If you got a dream, we'll work with it.
But I still need a little bit of something to work with. A little something. Still need a fantasy to work with.
Just a little bit.
Just a little potential and a dream. That's
a little bit. Now, I have to ask you this, because the theme of tonight is definitely hope. And, we are in an entrepreneurial, place, and Durham has so many, and it has a rich culture and so many collaborative efforts that are happening. And we wouldn't have known about, not known about you, but met you if it wasn't for his position at his job, where they focus on entrepreneurs. But to go into what you mentioned of just like performative politics and people being angry and morale being down and not being able to afford, how do we still allow entrepreneurs to be dreamers? And how do we continue that cadence of having entrepreneurs in Durham with everything just being so low right now?
It's our choices. Leadership has to choose that, to be intentional in that way. You have to be able to see everything that's happening and flip it for the good of those who contribute to the vibrancy. So when I think about development through Durham, and I think about the property taxes that, we are, people are very understandably upset about, right? Because there's the spirit that, well, we can't do anything. This is just this is what we have to do. And so that's a very simple response. Okay. When I see all of the tall buildings, or not so tall, but there are vacant spaces, and they've been that way, to understand that those entities have already written it off as a loss. So even if it's already a loss, is to be intentional to say, I'm going to find, I want to support an entrepreneur. I want to support an artist. I want a person with some purpose who wants to go into this space, right? And I subsidize it by everything that's above. All the mix, the high rent, units. And you think about that, but those are intentional choices. Those are the partnerships that we have to cultivate in Durham with those who choose Durham to develop in Durham. We have to start thinking through those who contribute to the vibrancy of Durham. We have to think through, just in this space. Listening to Keenan, I'm just like, gosh, it's just, but you know how that has to happen? You have to say yes. You have to say yes to being in space with people. You can't allow a title to remove you from the people,
Mhm.
you know, because my gosh, if I didn't say yes to this,
Mhm.
I would have never heard,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
I've been introduced to Keenan, who is just remarkable,
Mhm.
you know, in that little short little time I had, you know, he was dropping
Come on,
nuggets,
Stink. Yes.
you know? So, but that's what it's going to take.
Mhm.
It's going to take, it requires open leadership
Yes.
that is not filled with ego
Mhm.
to be able to embrace ideas greater than one's own
Yeah.
and know that you do well, we all do well,
Yeah.
you know? And that's also something I think culturally that as Black people, we must improve upon.
Yeah, buddy.
Because, you know, we think if you do well and you're a woman, oh, I can't support you.
Right.
Because in that, I don't know, you know, culturally, we struggle in that space of how to truly to support each
Mhm.
other to help us move forward.
Yes.
And, you know, so, you know, going back to that question, it's just, it requires openness. It requires ingenuity, and it requires choices that align with creative, small business, everything that it requires,
Mhm.
values, you know?
Come on, Miss.
I was about to say,
Come on.
tonight I've learned a lot about your values, and hopefully everybody's taking that side in, because what Kim and I try to do is not make everything just so rigid when you sit in this chair. Like, you know how some people cut people off in interviews and all that. No, get it out. The one thing I did want to ask, just because it's just interesting to me, let's when you win, that's the coach in me. I don't say if.
That's right.
If you're going to compete, you play to win.
That's
you
right.
don't play to lose, right?
Exactly. Yes.
So when you win and you're sitting in that seat, you finally get a chance to kind of debrief from the moment.
Mhm.
What's the first thing you do? Who's the first call you make? Like, I'm here now. So now that's when the work starts. So what's the first thing that you do?
After I take a breath.
After you take the breath, you done sat down, you done celebrated, everything's like when you have your baby and everybody's there for the baby shower, everybody's there for, and then when everybody leave, it's just you and the baby,
Yeah.
and you like, damn, where everybody go?
Mhm.
Now it's just you and it's the work. What's the first thing that you do?
Thank God.
Mm.
Like, what this is, I mean, I know that I have naysayers, daggers, you know, the underdog spirit. I have all of these things, you know, and for some people it's impossible.
Mhm.
But we achieve this. I mean, it is history. We're
Mhm.
making history in this
Mhm.
moment, right? And I have to say thank you there first,
Mhm.
because I know that it is only going to be with his grace that I am present, right? In that moment. And that is the first thing, is just to say thank you.
Mhm.
Like, because I'm here to serve,
Mhm.
right? And that's what this is about. This is not about Anjanee Bell. It is not. And this is not about my father.
Mhm.
This is not about the incumbent, you
Mhm.
know, and I say that it's not about any of that. This is serving a vision bigger than any one of us in this room.
Right.
Right. And that's just big.
Mhm.
Right. And if it didn't feel impossible, then, you know, it's not big enough.
Not big enough.
You know? And so I'm just saying that after, you know, that moment where we're in it, that's the first thing I have to do.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Mhm.
You know, it's no different when I wake up in the morning. I wake up in the morning and that's the first thing I say, thank you.
Mhm.
Right. And that's what it becomes.
Mhm.
And then after that, it's thank you to the people,
Mhm.
to the ones who believed and who at least gave me a shot, no matter how you got to that place.
Right.
You know, whether it's I don't want the incumbent,
Mhm.
or because of my family legacy, or because, you know what, you met Anjanee
Mhm.
and we connected.
Mhm.
Whatever that is, this election is so important, because what Durham needs right now is someone who is for Durham.
Mhm.
They are not for themselves. They are not to continue to exploit the people and place.
Mhm.
You know, that Durham finally has someone who has returned who was about the people,
Mhm.
who was about purpose,
Mhm.
right? I don't move by the dollar.
Mhm.
Never have. Do I appreciate the dollar?
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Because it's necessary to allow movement to come forward.
Correct.
But no purpose,
Yeah.
nothing like truly rooted in people, it's limited,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? And so what this is about, why this vote is so important is because what Durham can't afford
Mhm.
is leadership that is only present to serve themselves, to jump off to something else that does not serve Durham,
Mhm.
right?
There we go.
And that's why this is so important.
I agree.
And Durham must look beyond the paper trails
Mhm.
of who to vote for, because it's come by way of the hands of a few,
Mhm.
you know, to be able to understand and to listen consistently through actions,
Mhm. Mhm.
because anyone can sit and tell you something in that moment. But see, I would always tell my dancers, when you think I'm not looking, that's when I
That's when I'm paying
yeah, that's
attention.
when I'm paying attention.
Thank you.
That's when
Thank
I'm
you.
paying attention.
And so that's what people need to
Mhm.
understand about the two people who are in this race.
Mhm.
And that's not and let's be clear, this is not, this conversation that we're having in this space is not about the personal knowing
Mhm.
of the incumbent,
Mhm.
because that wouldn't be fair of me, because we're not in personal space,
Mhm.
right? But in this candidate space, because he is a candidate,
Mhm.
although the space that we exist in is only to speak in the title of mayor.
Mhm.
And that's and that's a whole nother thing. That's what this is about.
Yes.
To me,
Mhm.
this is about the work.
Mhm.
This is about what the work requires,
Mhm.
and the characteristics and the skills to be what Durham needs now.
Yeah.
Durham does not need someone that is just malleable for those who want to continue to exploit
Mhm.
Durham,
Mhm.
right? So the continuation of this current leadership, it will only serve the people who don't want anyone to give any pushback.
Mhm.
This current leadership will only serve the people that want to dismantle and erase Durham,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
That's what this leadership represents.
Yeah.
And it could have been anyone who carries that spirit to dismantle and to be destructive
Mhm.
to the viability and the continuation of work that I understood as sacrifice.
Mhm.
Yes, I'm protective
Mhm.
in that way. I fight furiously, and that's not the forums that we've been in. It doesn't offer the space to do what we're doing right now.
Mhm.
It doesn't offer the space to truly show who I am,
Mhm.
because who I am is challenging for me to exist in very inauthentic, disingenuous spaces.
Mhm.
And to be very frank, these are the spaces that we as candidates were in,
Mhm.
because it's all performative,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And so coming from a performing artist,
Mhm.
that's not even the work that's not even how I work.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
So for me, it's very challenging. It raises my anxiety levels,
Mhm.
because I'm like, that's just not true. That's
Mhm.
not real.
Mhm. And you can
then-
identify it
and
so
yes,
fast as a performer.
yes,
You know
yes.
that ain't it.
That's not it. And
Yeah.
and I probably wouldn't cast you,
Mhm.
because I know that who you are is disingenuous.
Mhm.
Like I always say that of a performing artist, like when we think of film,
Mhm.
like the camera doesn't lie.
Mhm.
The camera sees what it sees.
Mhm.
And that's what distinguishes those who are okay and those who are great,
Mhm.
is because greatness exists in being authentic,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? People can appreciate that.
Mhm.
The problem is that the bar is so low
Mm-mm.
that people don't know
What it
what
can be.
it can be, and
Mhm.
even what's real.
Yeah.
Because all these spaces are inauthentic spaces.
Yes.
So social media, an inauthentic space. That's
Mhm.
not real.
Right. Right.
But people, their lives, you build your life and even ruin lives
Mhm.
in these spaces.
Mhm.
And that's why what we're doing, this is real,
Mhm.
right? But people they have to see people in different spaces so that you can connect the dots. So you
Yeah.
can see, and it's just a practice.
Mhm.
People watching is a practice
Mhm.
because when you have to cast and you're trying, and what you're doing is you're communicating through movement, which is is challenging,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Because I have to talk to you with no words,
Mhm.
but my body and my movement, they are the words.
Mhm.
And so I'm wired to watch.
Mhm.
You know, and so this time that I've had has just been me watching
Mhm.
and finding my voice in it, and also understanding where I fit to be able to serve Durham,
Mhm.
you know, and just to be able to understand the characters to call them appropriately,
Mhm.
right? And that's what this is about for me. It's like I need the city to be awakened. I need our people to awaken.
Mhm.
Because otherwise you're gonna go to sleep and you're gonna wake up and you're gonna have to go live somewhere else.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes,
Right?
ma'am.
You're not gonna have a job.
Yes,
Mhm.
ma'am.
You know,
Mhm.
and you're gonna consistently be exploited,
Mhm.
you know, by those who aren't here.
Yeah.
But that leadership puts in place.
Yeah.
If you don't choose appropriately, like people have got to start choosing people who prioritize people
Mhm.
over profit.
Mhm.
And when I say that, it's not to say that you should not be able to earn a living off of what you do
Mhm.
in business. That is definitely not what I'm saying.
Right.
But when what you do is only serving yourself
Mhm.
and is not serving people, there's only so much money you can make.
Right. Right.
And you definitely can't take it with you.
Nope.
So while you're in this world, you must use what you have to better the lives of people, especially those who work so tirelessly to take care of the city,
Mhm.
to make sure that it's safe, to make sure that it's clean, to make sure it's habitable for our people.
Yeah.
You know, and everyone must be accountable.
Yes.
Our institutions,
Yes.
you know, our educators,
Yes.
our artists,
Mhm.
everybody has to step into this. The onus cannot be on one source.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that.
What? This was fun. I need you back. You got to come back.
I told y'all this is gonna be my seat.
Okay. Well, this is your
told you.
seat.
I know that's right. Come on.
I'm telling you.
I enjoy it. I love it.
Listen, I got plans. So if you serious,
I am serious.
okay.
Okay.
That's all I need to know.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's on
all.
camera. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm say it's
serious.
recorded.
Mhm.
Are we back tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
we're
you
back
are.
tomorrow. Okay.
Yes, you are. I'm just saying.
Oh, okay. Well, then we are back tomorrow. But before we get out of here, we are going to give you the opportunity to just give your final words to the people because this is going to be on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. So it's out there. So give your final word to the people here.
Let me tell you. So my final word for those who are in Durham, we need you to step in and multiply for Durham. This is about protecting a city that if you choose it, you need to love it in all of its ways. And that is ensuring that its leadership that we are in the process of selecting to know which direction Durham is going to go in. And it's either going to go in the way of the people or it's going to be going in the way of profits that do not benefit the people. And so Durham has a really clear choice to make. And I'm not here for show. You know, I'm here to do the work. But to do that, well, in this capacity, to do that work, it is being in a particular in this role to lead, right? Beyond Durham is to also let those who are beyond Durham and who are curious about Durham that it is a rich city. You should not be scared of Durham. Every place in the world has its challenges, has its spaces, right? I am not going to continue in supporting those who talk disparagingly about this city when you don't choose to get to know it, right? And because that also feels very personal,
Mhm.
right? Because it's easy to attack people and to say things that aren't true and disingenuous, or to form judgment, and you don't sit down or make a phone call to connect, to actually get to know someone. So
Yeah.
I challenge people to truly get to know Durham
Mhm.
and all that we have the capacity to do. And also those who are in Durham, that the leadership and the vision that I hope that comes through this time that we've spent together is that I'm one that's going to always have people every single time. And that it's all about the village, the net, and the seat. And everyone has a seat. It's just yours to claim it.
Right.
You know?
Right.
With no force. That's it.
Right.
With me, you have a seat, you know, and the table's going to always get bigger because as we expand, you know, it's important for us to be able to sit down and fellowship, you know, and come and do a thing. And this is not about just divisiveness. It's understanding that everyone who is in Durham, I want to talk to everyone.
Yeah.
You know, if I could, I mean, I might with these digital avatars, you know, to be able to be in all these spaces, right? Because I've been trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
Like, because people are like, well, Anjanee, you're not out. I am out. I am. But maybe it's context. Maybe you don't know what I look like and you don't know I'm in these spaces, right? But these digital avatars, maybe I can get into multiple, like hundreds of thousands of spaces. I don't know, Keenan, you're gonna have to tell me if that's how it works. But the bottom line is I've been trying to find a solution to how I can be in so many spaces. And this is a blessing. Thank you for inviting me, because this has been a space I was like, would I be good in this space? Could I do this?
Yes, ma'am.
You know,
did.
and so I did, right? And so that's what this is being able to know that, you know, hope is on the horizon. And when people do go to that ballot box, that's what they're checking.
Yeah.
When they see Anjanee Bell that is at the top of the ballot, that's hope that you're voting for.
I know.
All right.
I know.
Faith, hope, and love. Let's get it
Wait
done.
until I put this on LinkedIn. Boom.
Yeah, let's get this done.
Yeah, let's
so
get it done.
we'll be back tomorrow, and we're gonna impact. And we got to
thank
talk
you
to you about
again,
somewhere.
Ms.
Yeah,
Bell.
we'll say we got to talk to you about another opportunity that we came across. We need you to kick a
Okay.
door in.
All right. Oh, I like.
We won't say
I
it.
like
We won't say it on air. So TDS
Thank
Radio.
you so much.
Yes,
for
thank you
joining
for
This
being
was
here.
great.
TDS
Take
Radio. Y'all have a good night. Our
Good night.
voice, our culture. Peace.
Bye.